هدف الار تي جي ونيد كاري بوي وينيد. هذه هي كاري وهذا الكاري الحار، أتى وتقدم باتجاه برود فورس. يتبقى لاعب أخير بكل قوة الأسود. هنا تزر، أسود المغربي تظهر وتزر، لكن أحد اللاعبين يحاول عرقلة هذه الأسود. بريبوت يغادر من المارشال من القائد، والزينون بموقف أيضا صعب إذا ما تعامل لاعبي فريق الفي جي اس مع تواجدهم بهذه الحالة. لابد مباشرة وباستعجال أن يصنعوا الكفرات وأن يبنوا مناطق الأمان لهم إذا ما أرادوا أن ينتصروا بهذه المباراة لصعوبتها، لأنه الفي جي اس مسيطر على المباراة بمكانه وبتواجده وبالتواجد لفارس اللي قاعد يكون على بالقمة وبأدائه القوي، وبالفي جي اس اللي يقدم أشياء كثيرة بهذه المباراة. وحتى في المباراة الأولى يحاول كالاغا أن يزعج الأسود، وما بين أسود الرافدين إلى أسود المغرب من سيكون زئيره أعلى وصده أكبر وأوسع. الار تي جي والتقدم والمارشال والبحث عن مباراة جيدة. لحظات الزون قادمة، لن يذهبوا بعيدا، يعني في أسوأ الأحوال لن يذهبوا بعيدا. لن يذهبوا بعيدا. وها هو أمجد يتقدم ويحاول على الار تي جي أيضا، وعلى لاعبي فريق الفيجن ينظر يفوز بنظرة واسعة. الله يا يفوز، والله تفوز بهاللقطة، تفوز يا يفوز بهذه الرصاصة الثابتة واحدة، وكانت كافية أن تعطل الار تي جي عن التحرك وأن تعطي المساحة والوقت للفي جي اس بانتشار أوسع وبسيطرة أوسع. ار تي جي بثلاث لاعبين، زينون متواجدين بالأربعة والفي جي اس متواجدين بالأربعة، ولكن بدأ الفي جي اس يتشتت ويتقدم ديو بديو. هذا قد يدفع ثمنها غاليا إذا ما استطاع الار تي جي أن يعرقل أحد اللاعبين. هذه هي الدقيقة ونصف المتبقية على إغلاق هذا الزون السابع اللي ما بعد اكيد راح نشاهد اشياء اخرى مختلفه. يتقدم من هنا لاعب فريق الار تي جي، لكن يستقبل من مارشال. يتقدم الليزي، يتواجد من هنالك يفوز. فوز بالاقصاد، فوز بالارقام، اخذ الارقام يا يفوز. والسبعه وصلوا لها الفي جي اس، قادرين على اكمال المباراه بشكل افضل الفي جي اس وعلى ارقام اكثر. الفي جي اس بمكان رائع الكل يتمناه، والفي جي اس استثمر هدية الزون له من البداية، وهنا يريد اكمال الهدايا بوينر تشيكن الى كل الليبيين.
دينر، نعم هذا هو اللي ينتظره فريق الفي جي اس، وحتى الكزينون الذي يعود بقوة. أسود المغرب ترجع وتعود وتريد أن تسيطر وتريد أن تسترجع الهيبة وتسترجع المكانة وتسترجع كل ما فقدته في الماضي وفقدته في هذه السنة وسنة الماضية. هنا فريق الفي جي اس يريد أن يتقدم. يلا يا يفوز، روح يا يفوز، اتقدم يا يفوز. في جي اس يبحث عن الانتصار. كالاغا يريد ان يكشف لاعبين فريق الكزينون، وتبقى المواجهه الان 3 من كزينون و4 من فريق الفي جي اس، لكن هناك انتصار على احد فريق الفي جي اس. نتابع الان 3 ضد 3 ولكن موستا راح يتم هو فارس، هو يفوز اللي اصيب وكان بعيد من الفريق، ولكن الان فريق كزينون عنده اولويه بالكفر وعنده اولويه بالمنطقه وعنده اولويه بالزون، ولكن فريق الفيرتوال جيمنج سكواد عنده اولويه بالعدد وعنده الاولويه في التفوق العددي. هنا نتابع حصار من فريق الفي جي اس. موستا هنا عن طريق نيد رائع جدا. كاري بوي، وينك يا كاري بوي، وينك يا مارشال، الله عليك يا مارشال. لكن امجد كان اقوى والفيرتوال جيمنج اقوى، والفيرتوال الله عندك يفوز تفوز. لما يكون عندك يفوز تفوز، لما يكون عندك يفوز تفوز يا ولدي تفوز. فيرتوال جيمنج سكواد يبدع بهذه المباراة ويسجل أول وينر تشيكن دينر ببطولة الشرق الأوسط وإفريقيا بمباراتها الثالثة. يعني صراحة أداء كان رائع جدا منهم. اغتنموا الفرصة بالزون، استغلوا عفوا فرصتهم بالزون نتكلموا على فريق اللي سبق وشارك ببطولة كبيرة حتى ولو بممكن تشكيلة مختلفة، لكن يحتاج هذا الفريق أنه يقدم ويطمح التأهل إلى بطولة PMGC، وهي حديث اليوم. بطولة PMGC هي حديث اليوم، 4 مقاعد تنتظر الجميع، ولا تنسى أيضا أن تشارك في القرعة اللي موجودة داخل الشات، أكيد باستديو تحليلي يعطوكم كل التفاصيل. لكن قبل ذلك نتمنى التوفيق لكل من معتز وفلانكر اللي رايحين يتواجدوا معكم لتغطية باقي المباريات، ونقول لكم شكرا على متابعتكم لنا. نلتقي غدا بحول الله. إذا بعد الفاصل ليواصل معكم ساند ستارم واستديو تحليلي.
यार इसका खुद का वॉल्यूम नहीं कम हो रहा है, पता नहीं क्या सीन है।
المواجهة المباشرة المتقدمة الضاربة، نادي ليزي بوي، هي نادي ليزي بوي، هي
ماشي على بريبود، ماشي والنهاية قريبة على بريبود. دي بي اس أول لاعب، دي بي اس ثاني لاعب. كويست ما بعد هذا اليوم، ما بعد هذا الأسبوع لديكم فرص كبيرة. W7 هنا يخسر فرصة التواجد، ممكن غيث يتلاعب بمقدرات W7.
وينر تشيكن دينر اخيرا ولاول مره في تاريخه في ثالث بطوله اقليميه بيشارك فيها الفي جي اس، اخيرا بحصل اول تشيكن دينر في تاريخه في البطولات الاقليميه يا شباب. ومع الاقصاءات اللي قدر يحصلها اخيرا عم بنشوف تواجد قوي جدا، واخيرا عم بنشوف بصمه الفريق في البطوله الاقليميه يا شباب. لكن بالبدايه على طول جايك يا كيالي، لان انا عارف انه
مشحون
بالضبط. انا عارف في اللحظات الاخيره من المباراه في كان عندك كم ملاحظه منها.
اول شغله وقت اللي حكينا نحن بالتوقعات، أنا توقعي كان لنجمة جالاكسي لاسباب كثير، لكن استغربت كثير من قرار الفريق انه ترك كوبس على الجسر. كوبس عامل هولد على تيم كامل، تيم جي كي، عارفين تماما انه في فريق كامل قادم على الجسر، لكن ما هالشيء اثنين حاولوا يعملوا روتيشن باتجاه سنتر الزون، وبالاخير كان هذا ضياع بالنسبه له. على الطرف الثاني نهايه الجوله وتشيكن دينر، وسبب انه كنت مخالف الراي انا على ماو بفكره انه زينون ما راح يحسن يحصل تشيكن دينر، ما عرفوا يعملوا اويرنس نهائي بالمحيط اللي عندهم، ما عرفوا يسكروا نهائيا اي دخول زاوي فعليا باتجاه الكامباوند، وخسروا بفلانكين حرفيا. انت عرفتوا شو عم يسوي هذا الفريق في جي اس بشجاعتهم، عرفوا يعملوا روتيشن على زاويتين مختلفتين، حطوهم بمقص وخلصوا على تيم زينون.
وانا لاحظت برضو عندك باللحظات الاخيره اثنين من لعيبه الزنون اصلا ما كانوا متواجدين معنا في الكومباوند، يعني اثنين بس انه ورا، انه على طول عم بيحاولوا يتخبوا، فعليا ما كان عندهم الامكانيه اصلا انهم يطلعوا ويشوفوا من وين الفلانك جاي. وبالنهايه في جي اس قدر يستغل هاي الفرصه ويطلع بالتشيكن دينر. ار تي جي برضه طلع معنا التوب 3. روخ عم بيعاني بمباراتنا الثالثه بتو سون ومن غير ولا نقطه، بس هذا يعني انه المنافسه حتزيد في باقي المباريات، لانه احنا خلص الشوط الاول يا ما، وعم نبدا شوطنا الثاني بمباريات اليوم الاول.
شوف انا دائما اعقب على بدايه الجوله لان هي تعكس على الاحداث اللي تكون في النهايه، وانت يعني مثل هذه زون تمر الستيج الاولى بدون خساره لاعب، يعني اوكي صار في فيرست بلود بس ما كانت بشكل مباشر من فريق التويستد مايند، فريق مدافع على عمليه جيت كيبنج، خسر لاعب امام فريق الروخ. لكن انا اتكلم عن اليوم ليش ما نشوف مثلا محاوله قطع روتيشن، محاوله استهداف فريق بالجوار، لانه يدري ان هذا الفريق الموجود بجواري راح اعرضه على الستيج الثالثه، على الستيج الرابع، على نفس الاطراف اللي انا راح يكون جاي منها. فاليوم
I gotta say that dance looks like we're watching Thriller or something, right? Just gotta feel like a little bit of that MJ coming on as well. You know, I just wanna but either which way, while we do the moonwalk in the background, let's take a look at the match report to have a bit of a look at exactly what we've got cooking all over the place.
Yeah, look, it was really tough to highlight one dominating team towards the midway point of that wrangle. So taking a look at this is quite interesting just to see exactly the impact that we saw Virtual Gaming have. I mean, picking up those most eliminations and highest damage makes complete sense. I mean, with the way in which they carried those eliminations, absolutely deserved. But now, taking a look at it as well, RTG also making quite the impact. So I was quite impressed how we just saw the sort of just change in attitude from these teams, making sure that they were staying active, trying to take those engagements sooner rather than later. Again, we saw some of those rotations, like these, you know, a little bit of a swimming rotations, really being the fault in these teams, really being what really took them down. Even some of the timing, the will to battle, managing to get that drop on Sly. It all resulted in a very chaotic wrangle, but it was still great to see how some managed to find that pattern, managed to find their strategy still in the chaos.
Yeah, and I think the big turning point definitely came through as we approached this last stretch, right? I mean, Virtual Gaming Squad, again, just looking to milk the elevation as long as they possibly can. I think a little bit of oopsie happened there on the Xenon side where they started to get out of the hard cover, right? And not focusing on just looking to fortify the position that they were holding onto. But of course, the teams are going to be doing whatever they think best at that point to get themselves the necessary points. So also taking into consideration, wow, that this is only match number 3 of day number 1, right? We still have 3 more days and 3 more matches for today to continue with. So there's still quite a bit of change and quite a bit of adaptation that these teams can look to bring out onto the battlefield. So I'm not feeling too upset with anything that we've been seeing so far just yet. But speaking of which, let's take a look at the overall rankings to see where the teams find themselves after our first 3 games. Of course, Virtual Gaming Squad right up in pole position.
Virtual Gaming is time.
Absolutely. I mean, what a shift they managed to take as well. With that previous performance, shifting up all the way with 6 slots to get themselves that first place current holding. And again, yes, that's only the halfway of day number 1. So we have to just take stock of that and see how close and competitive it's been from map to map, from that Erangel to Murmur. It's been been a very different story. It's been a very
13
different set of
point.
teams that have been rising to the top. We're starting to see a few semblances of consistency in the form of Sly,
देखते हैं
Machine, and of
क्रिप्टो
course
किस तरफ है
Root
अपना
Esports,
ट्विस्टेड
as well as
माइंड
Vision,
कितने
but
पे बैठा
it
हुआ है
hasn't awarded them as much
क्रिप्टो
of a scary lead as what we're seeing from Virtual Gaming. Still very close in contentions, a massive opportunity, but I expect it to be a very top-heavy finish as well. We see Xenon finishing off in 8th place, moving on to the
क्रिप्टो
next page.
15वें
It
नंबर पे
starts
बैठा हुआ
to
है 2
trickle down
पॉइंट है
significantly, and that is
2
understandable in
पॉइंट
terms
आज
of
कुछ
what we've
करना
been
होगा
seeing with those
कम बैक
overall
करना होगा
rankings. It's been top-heavy.
ट्विस्टेड
It's
माइंड
been
को
double
कम बैक
digits,
करना
you know,
होगा
9,
एक
7,
किल किया
whatever, for
3
the top
मैचों में एक
5
प्लेसमेंट पॉइंट
teams, and the rest are just fighting for scraps.
Yeah, I mean,
team
speaking
can-
about that, speaking of which, right? Of course, the World of Battle, we
GK
do see them
Sports,
sitting with 2 points.
GK
Now, those 2 points,
Sports वाले
they
भी
only
पीछे हैं
accrued
बड़ी-बड़ी
them
टीमें
in
पीछे
this
हैं
last
यार
match. So it took them all the way up until game number 3 to get their first points on board. So
बड़ी-बड़ी
things are
टीमें
pretty
पीछे हैं
tough. I
बहुत
mean,
बड़ी-बड़ी
this
टीमें
is
पीछे
a
हैं
championship that we are looking at the end of the day. And of course, the teams
निगमा
trying to
गैलेक्सी
find the
भी
best approach that is going to be
9वें
working
नंबर पे
for
है
them.
निगमा
But
गैलेक्सी
I think a lot of the teams
नस्ल
now
तो
have
चलो
gotten rid of
फाल्कन
most
में
of the
पिछली
nerves.
गेम में
Right?
बड़ा
They
वो
are
किया था
geared up,
लेकिन
ready to go. I
और
think
80
moving into the map of
बहुत
Sanok is going to provide them with a great opportunity to
एल्बिया
really
की
let
जो है
down
ना
their hair, focus on the
सऊदी अरब के
aggression, and you know, just have a little bit of fun here
अरबिया
as
की
well.
टीमें बहुत पीछे हैं
That is going
South
to be
वाली
the
बहुत-
hope.
बहुत
So, I
आगे
mean,
जा रही है,
moving
बहुत
into
आगे
this
जा
next
रही है।
matchup, it's really going to be about consistency and once again, managing the chaos. We saw it is a very Erangel-heavy day, so a lot of greenery, a lot of opportunities to work on the bread and butter, but those 2 Miramars and that Sandhawk still yet to come. Well, yeah, it's been a tough day so far for them. I am going to be very curious to see if we're going to see a consistent Erangel sort of champion. So far, we thought it was going to be Rook. Didn't quite turn out that way just based on the second map of the...
ऑडियो मोड किस पे होगा
Other teams take a little bit to warm up and get other teams take a little bit to warm up and get accustomed and reacclimated, and then we see them really starting to crack it wide open and come through with quite a phenomenal play. So I think round about this match, round about match 3, moving into match 4, that is where we could potentially have a bit of a change upcoming through as to how these teams are going to be playing it. And of course, I think Sanok is going to be the perfect match to help the teams do exactly that. Of course, as we know, we are now pushing into the final stretch of the day, so that is going to be our Sanok, our final Murmur, as well as our final Erangel to be played out here. And of course, speaking about which, I'm curious to see exactly where the first zone is going to be moving into with Sanok, because as we know, Sanok is one of those maps.
To be honest, our zones have been so sporadic and so one-sided in terms of the positions that we've been seeing from these teams. It really has just been a case of, well, I'm in center zone, I get to sit and wait, where the rest have to run it for that rotation. Sandhawk, obviously, it's much less of a concern. It's a much quicker rotation, and it provides teams that have had such tough times today with rotations to finally... showcase Twisted Minds. I want to see more from them moving into the Sandhawk.
Well, speaking about moving in, let's get right down to it. Of course, the flight path is going to be starting us off in that northern side, heading straight down south. Again, flight path Sandhawk, not all too important. As we mentioned, the zone itself is going to be where all the magic happens. But I'm also curious is whether are we going to have a few hot drops potentially to come through. I mean, because so many teams, so many contentious teams looking to get themselves situated, so I'm at least expecting a little bit of heat in the beginning. Maybe even up to the north.
It's definitely a possibility at this point in time. Yeah, look, so a very eastern flight path that we're going to be seeing once again. It is Sanok at the end of the day, so rotations are going to be a lot
Twisted
more
Mind
palatable
15वें
than what
नंबर
we've
पे
seen in
बैठी
those
हुई
previous
है
matchups.
मैच 3
R8
खेल
Quest
चुकी
Esports,
है
quite a bit of a close and
2
contentious
पॉइंट है इसके
position
2
there, so it's a 2-2
पॉइंट
split for
एक
Quest
चिकन डिनर
Esports
मस्ट
that
है
might
एक
see
चिकन
them
डिनर
in an
मस्ट है
engagement, an early one then
15 to
with
20
R8,
पॉइंट चाहिए
which should be
इनको
pretty interesting to
तकरीबन
witness. As for the rest, Sly, Nassau, a little bit of split there, and then of course the hot drop is here. It is GK and Virtual Gaming of all teams, our previous winners, to take a head-to-head.
Ooh. Well, let's see whether or not they can keep the consistency flowing here. This is a great chance now for GK to show us what they can bring on in. Ooh, good nade up top. There we have it. Ragnar getting dropped to their knees. Amjad now looking for a bit of an approach. Sneak their way around the outside. Santa going to be waiting patiently. I mean, Santa knows better, right? You never see Santa just blindly jumping down the chimney. Instead, they take their sweet time, they do their due diligence, and of course use all the available audio cues coming through. As we can see, most Fares looking for a bit of a jump here. Ooh, here we go. Santa, yes, the first. Oh, but down they go as a quick trade comes in from Mosta.
Oh, it was almost a complete turnaround here for Virtual Gaming or for GK. An either-or battle, but there it is. GK Esports, they put their flag down. It is their territory. It is potentially going to be their map. A fantastic 4 eliminations right into the pocket. And we say goodbye to Virtual Gaming, our current poll holders. So, yeah, they're going to have to wait until the next Murmur and Erangel to make something happen this time around. But looking at this now, we also saw a little bit of that trade-off there with R8 and Xenon. They both will be able to pick up at least 1 elimination for the time being. Rotations are going to be key here for Quest as well. How they are going to handle that now with only 3 players remaining. And yeah, look, a northern zone, DK, once again, it's like we just want to avoid all of the land and only look to the water on these maps.
Or maybe it's a cue from the zone guards telling us that the teams can do whatever they like. Right. Who knows?
They're still going to bring action, even with half of the land available.
Yeah, I know that was a bit of a tough one, a bit of a rough one as well. But either way, it is what it is. Quest, though, beautiful setup up in towards Hatin. I think they are going to be quite satisfied with their current positioning. I think NASA could also potentially look to bring a bit of an approach here. But I think the biggest question is going to be how our outlying teams are going to be looking to get themselves secured. I mean, Ruch, not necessarily an outlying team, as they've already taken the plunge, looking to get themselves situated up into close to center, as you can see them occupying the compound on the edge of that bridge. But I mean, Vision, RTG, Clear Vision, as well as Twisted Minds, The World of Battle, Nigma, Xenon, Falcons. Pick a team. They all still have to make that rotation, and well, they don't have too much time left. Yeah, sure, 3.5 minutes is quite some time. But again, you're still going to think of those potential engagements on their approach leading into the zone.
And where exactly they're going to be able to find some space to set up. Like you said, that zone has basically cut in half the available spacing. So there's not a lot of options. There's not a lot of place that they can actually set themselves up with. You can see here a lot of splits, as you can see, between Nassau and the likes of Vulcan White, having to just share the mountaintop to try and hold on to something here, which is going to, as you said, result in quite a lot of third-party opportunities, as is expected on the beautiful map of Sanhok, which has just now been elevated into a whole different level of third-party. But we have to also keep in mind GK Esports, just off the back of winning that fight against Virtual Gaming, they also find themselves in an interesting position as a potential gatekeeper to the likes of those teams you mentioned that have to make the rotation in.
I mean, it's going to be a tough play either which way you look at it, right? Speaking about tough, though, it is going to be AXA finding the first opening up into the side there. Ozbek and NASA definitely got to watch their backs here. You can see J7 and Starch looking for a bit of an opportunity. Maybe they can bring Spec back on their feet, but Falcons really prepped up and ready to bounce, as they are going to be looking to defend the top of the seals. We know up towards the temple, that is going to be allowing quite a bit of a vantage point, specifically down towards that north and southern sides of the zone. But NASA still having a bit of an opportunity. They can definitely look to bounce back from this one. Not all their fates has been decided just yet. But B6 definitely holding on to a very tight angle there with regards to Starch.
Very tight angle indeed. My goodness gracious. Now, taking a look at this, information is going to be key. You can just already see P6 trying to get a bit of an operating angle here. At least there's just a little bit of information. Oh, and Nassar J7 needing to reload that shotty before they head into the action, because they are going to need as many bullets as they possibly can to keep themselves in this one. Nassar, ooh, a nice little bit of an assist. They're finding one. So that is going to be at least one potential angle they can handle here. Teeth now with the rotation in, that 2-1 split is going to be key here for Falcons. Do they have the utility to take Nassar out of this? And for Nassar, it has been a tough day. They could do with a great start here to take out one of their competitors.
Yep, it could definitely be exactly the start that NASA needs to do the job. But as we can see also then, I mean, Falcons, they're not going to be sticking around. Instead, they are going to be looking to push a little bit further down. Maybe even setting up a bit of a bait and switch coming in there. Meanwhile, Clear Vision going to be feeling all the heat and aggression sent over to them as Rook Esports look to reach across the way. But of course, a bit of a third-party opportunity available here as R8 Esports come creeping on forward. Vankid, ooh, now really has to cover all the possible angles. Unfortunately for Vankid, we do see Focus also with some really great awareness being shared as well.
Taking a look at it now, Clear Vision, interesting position now for them, holding on R8 slowly but surely, trying to close that gap, find an opportunity here to get a few more eliminations. Time is going to be of the essence. Ragnarok's trying to step up, not quite making those connections just yet. And again, you have to be so wary. Look how many teams are in those surrounding areas. I mean, the third party is just around the corner. It's going to be a very tough battle for them. Clear Vision now only with 2 members remaining, having to try and fight off a Sandhawk that is so congested and so tightly knit. It's not going to be easy by any means necessary.
Speaking of which, though, we do still see 4 teams on those outlying regions, still all the way out in the blue zone. That is RTG, Twisted, as well as the World of Battle, Enigma, Galaxy. Not quite sure what their approach is, but we look back at what Ragnarok was able to do, just dealing absolute devastation. But yeah, this is definitely going to be quite the packed zone for the squads to try and work their way through. Vision also going to be trying to dip their toes into a little bit of that security. But R8 presented with a great opportunity. And I'm curious to see how Vision are going to be looking to respond to this. Are we going to be seeing a full-on showing of aggression? Vision just rushing their way forward. Or maybe a little bit more of a tactful approach, trying to sneak their way into the zone and then get the upper hand onto R8.
I'm very curious to that myself. As we've mentioned, we've seen their tactical approach. We've seen how they are able to deal with those rotations and how they've been able to make some great decisions in terms of those positional advantages. But it hasn't been as an explosive result as what we've seen with some of the other teams like Virtual Gaming, as an example, as what we would like. It's been very consistent, however. So, consistently painful, as we do see Sly finding Raouf there. But yeah, Vision, I would like to see something different from them, especially on the Sanhok. It's crazy enough as it is. There is that potential for third parties. There is that potential to get a great number of eliminations while maintaining your numbers. But we'll have to wait and see. Meanwhile, Sly, again, it's the second time we get to actually take a look at how they've been taking these rotations, but they are having some trouble now. Already one back to the lobby, a second unfortunately knocked, and Lord still with more utility than they can count, sending it through into the way of Sly. Hey, ow.
But Nigma, they've been struggling a little bit so far today to find good consistency with regards to placement. I mean, they've only had 2 placement points. The rest of their points all coming off the back of elimination and aggression. So I'm curious to see at which point Nigma are going to be looking to play for a little bit more of a end game positioning, because I mean, being down to a solo this early on is not going to bode very well for the side there of Nigma. Especially not with the addition of GK coming through just behind them. Upsets are going to be all over the place. But again, we are still left with 15 teams. Everyone essentially now being able to condense themselves and get themselves much closer towards the zone. We're still waiting for a few outliers to also dip their toes in. Speaking about dipping their toes, look at Xenon up on the hill. A very interesting spot. I mean, great vantage point, especially down towards the southern side, but I'm not quite sure whether or not it's actually a position that they can capitalize too much off of.
Yeah, look, again, it's a very similar situation than what we saw in that previous wrangle. Great positioning. They have a clear view on a plethora of teams to take a fight with. But timing and how they're going to be managing those surroundings is going to be key. Again, zone rotation still has to come in. We still need to see how the world... I don't know how this happens, but the two teams that I wanted to see more of, the World of Battle and Twisted Minds, those two teams still yet to find themselves in the zone. So it's going to be a very tough rotation, especially for the likes of Twisted Minds. RTG also in a position where they need to find some sort of spacing between either Vision or Brute Force to get themselves a foothold into that next zone. With that shift towards the north, we have a bridge in play, and we have a lot of more rotations that need to be focused towards that southern edge. So Xenon in a position where they are going to have to deal with a lot of stragglers in those rotations.
I think there's essentially three teams that could really capitalize on positioning at this point. I'm looking at Rook Esports, Falcons, and the players coming through from Quest. I think if those three teams really hunker down, they can just absolutely upset the lobby. You could also add the players from Brute Force into the mix, but I think for Brute Force, it is also going to rely heavily on where exactly they get themselves situated, because we got RTG and Vision now taking that approach coming through from this northeastern side, so the pressure's definitely going to be on. I mean, Rook Esports, they're going to have to worry about clear vision, but that's only one team that is potentially going to be drawing their attention, and on the other side of the zone, Quest, they might have their hands full as the teams will come through for that approach, but fortunately there's a bit of a filter, right? We've got Xenon, we've got the players from Falcons as well as Slime Machine that could definitely look to, you know, just whittle away at the contentious numbers coming through from this western front.
And they're going to have to do that. I mean, we still have 15 teams left. Looking at the spacing we have available, that already gets cut in half with the river right in the middle of the zone. So yeah, please, let's thin out this competition. It is getting a bit too hot and sweaty on a map like Sandhawk. That's not where you want to be. Already R8 unfortunately falling to that rotation. Rook starting to step on up, but they're feeling the pressure as well. Clear Vision making their presence known alongside Vision and RTG. Brute Force still in the action as well. So R8, I mean, talk about being stuck between a rock and a hard place. Literally fish in a barrel as they just try and desperately make a rotation.
And it's tough. I mean, as we've said before, the zones seem to be favoring the water quite a bit today, regardless of what map we're on, right? And
silly.
even on Miramar, a map that doesn't really have all that much water, it still manages to be the situation here. But it's tough for these teams, as they will have to battle their way on through. But a beautiful nade coming through from Groza. Unfortunately, it is onto their own teammate, but the timing on that explosion was just absolutely perfect. Unfortunately, yeah, not going exactly the way they would have wanted. Now comes the opportunity for Vision to see if they can maybe find a bit of a bounce back against RTG, and so far it seems like it is looking pretty positive.
There we go, a little bit of a return. We wanted this aggression from Vision. Finally, we get to witness it. And on a map like Sandhawk, I couldn't be happier. But of course, it's not over just yet. RTG with their split, they still have 2 members available for that reach-in. But looks like they will be prioritizing the rotation in. And what a choice to make. Do they stay on the land? Do they go up to Vision headquarters? Or do they take a swim? For it looks like Vision's not going to give them the option. Moving in for that finish. RTG dropped to down only 1 up. And Adam trying to desperately make a dash into the zone. Kalaga, I don't know how they are alive.
Ooh, but Kalaga now going from the fire into the frying pan as the final hits are delivered, and that is RTG getting ended right then and there. We're still left with 14 teams and 45 players. But again, nowhere really is safe within this region. I mean, NASA also now going to be sliding off to a few heights as they too start to take their approach. It's going to be Twisted now, getting absolutely battered and bruised as NASA starts with a beautiful opening and a great play. As you can see, Staunch just causing absolute mayhem.
It's what we need to see from the start. And again, they still have all 4 of their members alive and Adam, so please make that rotation in, because then we could be having a completely different discussion for Nassau, which would be great to see. Twisted Minds, that rotation in, and why are you fighting each other? These are the 2 teams that needed to have the best performance on the Sandhawk, and they have found one another and are currently taking themselves out into the lobby. So I'm a little bit upset, but hey, If there's a fight to be
Yeah,
had, if there's
yeah,
eliminations to
nahi.
be had, you have to take it.
किल लिया इनका एक भी किल लिया
Well, let's see whether or not that is going to be the play, though. It's still such
Third
a
party
tough
both होगी.
position to be in, and the world of battle going to be looking to ride out the edge,
TW वाला
trying
किधर
to
घूम गया
ooh, maybe even
Galaxy
flank their way on through. We do say goodbye
Galaxy बहुत
to
अच्छी
the
team
side
है
of
यार, पता
Enigma
नहीं क्या हो रहा है
Galaxy
इनके
as
साथ.
they will get shipped on back. Clear Vision going to be the next one out in 13th.
Enigma
And this is
Galaxy
where
मेरे
we
ख्याल
could
से
see the
qualify
Blue
कर
Zone
चुका है.
actually getting the
PMPC के
better
लिए
hand of so
Twisted
many of
Mind
our
के लिए ज़रा
teams. I
मुश्किल
mean,
हो
even
रहा
R8 getting backed up with only 4 eliminations to their name.
है. 11 टीमें रह गई हैं.
Only 4 eliminations, but at least, no, it's, I want to say it's better than nothing. It's such a tough battle right now for the Sanhok matchup with the rotations that we've had to see. It's not been easy. So the fact that you're able to get anything whatsoever,
Twisted.
it's going to be counting for something at the end of the day. Sanhok is only that tiny, and we only have a few more
Placement
matches
point
left
क्या-
before we're going to
elimination
be seeing
point
what
भी
that
नहीं
first
कर
day
रहे
is
ना,
going to be
पता नहीं
looking
क्या
like.
कर
So
रहे हैं ये.
as anything that they can muster is
बंदा
going
revive
to
होना
be
चाहिए इनका.
worthwhile. GK Esports on the other hand have had a very tough
क्योंकि ये
last
इनका
few
एक
matches.
अच्छा प्लेयर है,
They've been
बहुत
starting
अच्छा
to
प्लेयर
fall
है.
off, and
Krypton दिया ना
unfortunately
अपने सर वालों
they
को.
will be only going back to the lobby with
Finish
4
भी देना
eliminations.
मजा
But
प्लेयर
again, better than nothing, right? What I am worried about is how Falcons are going to
लो,
turn this
दानी
one
क्या?
around. They also have been a team alongside GK that have been a bit quiet. They haven't had a
बंदा
massive
knock है,
fall
उनका
off,
भी
but they
knock
have
है.
dropped 1 or 2 positions on that overall leaderboard. So I'd like to see a little bit more aggression from them,
Falcon वाले
especially
दो किल हो गए.
based on their previous PMPL performances. We know they have it in them. We know that they have what it takes. We
Twisted
just
का
need to
दानी knock
see
है.
them actually realize those opportunities.
I mean, we could be seeing quite a bit of a play coming through from the Falcons because, as we saw in the last PMPL, they put quite a bit of focus on their overall Sanhok performances. So I think that already speaks volumes as to what they are capable of. But now they're going to have to
third
show,
party क्या
right?
पता
The
नहीं यहाँ पे
statistics
तो
only
कौन
take
सी
us
fight हो
so
रही है.
far. And speaking of statistics,
हाँ,
Xenon, who
revive
we
को दिया,
also saw
दिया.
securing quite a bit of a performance
Nasser
up on
वाले
this
पड़ गए
map
इन पे.
specifically, also now feeling the heat as Marshall
Very nice,
reaches
very
into
nice. Nasser वालों
J7.
का score
But
गया,
all the
लगभग पूरा ही
pressure
गया.
and hopes and
Kill भी
dreams
मेरे
for
ख्याल
the
से
side
चोरी
of
हो गया.
Xenon rely solely on their
Twisted Mind
performance
का.
yet to come. As Spec now finds themselves in a bit
Twisted
of a
Mind के तीन बंदा
1v1
जिंदे हैं.
situation, but not
Kill
exactly
knock
the
हुए दो
easiest
तीन दफा.
1v1, right? We do have Senkei there from the side of
Okay, Nasser
Xenon,
वाले
yet
गए.
to bring in that
8 टीमें बची हैं.
reinforcement, but no
Top
need as
3, 4, 5
Marshall
में आना लाजमी
gets
इनको.
it done, and that
Placement
is
point चाहिए ना,
Nasser
top
getting
5
shipped
में.
on
Oh,
back.
एक kill
Out they
मिला
go,
इनको.
9th place with 3 eliminations up.
1 2 3 4 4 5
Oh my goodness,
टीमों की fight हो
Nassar
रही है.
has just
Benefit
been
ये है कि
running
circle में है.
into such difficult opposition today. So I'm so sad, but hey, we're
Crypto
going to be seeing
1v3
them
के
pick it up
1v4 भी कर
soon,
सकता
I'm
है.
pretty sure. Brute Force now making a bit of a rotation on in, right behind the likes of Rook Esports, who've also
Falcon-
been relegated,
Falcon वाले
unfortunately,
आए
down to 2 members. So the
Nerds
current
से मेरे
focus
ख्याल
is, of
से
course, on the
1v2
likes
के
of
बने.
Falcons. It looks like
सारे
that
nerds
might
से
be the
मारते
end
हैं.
of them, though. A beautiful finish with that nade,
बंदा
thanks to Puncher.
nerds से मार
And
गया
that
सबको.
will see them, unfortunately, back into the
एक
lobby.
अच्छी
But now, look
position
at this
बैठी हुई है.
tiny
Twisted
Brute
के
Force.
पास
They
knock दिया.
thought
Twisted ने
they were
TW
going
वालों
to be
को.
surprising Rook. However,
ये इन पे
Falcons now sitting
4
ducks as
4
Brute
किल
Force
निकाल
make
सकते
their
हैं
approach
TW वाले
in.
की तरफ
They
से.
have information,
क्योंकि
there's a
लास्ट
team in
में
front
बैठे
of
हैं,
them.
मुझे
They have the
सबसे
angles.
सी
They
टीम लगती
might
है.
be able to take Falcons out here.
There's definitely a big possibility of that to be the situation, be the case, but let's see.
लाइक कर देना
whether or
यार,
not
लाइक में लाइक करना
Falcons
है.
find a way out of this whole play. I mean, Brute Force. They're definitely one of my favorite teams, right? I really enjoy watching their gameplay, and I also enjoy their name, the Brutes. That's why I call them that, because it just sounds so much such fun. Well, probably helps if I English properly, but either which way, the pressure is on, right? Because Falcons, I mean, they've proved themselves coming through not only the PMPL, but also just grinding their way through the PMPL finals itself as well. So this is a great showing for both teams. But it's going to come down to who's able to pull the trigger the quickest, right? And get their hands on those plays. The meanwhile, as we move back over towards the western side, it's going to be the World of Battle and Twisted Minds now getting ready for a little bit of an altercation. And Krona definitely needs to get themselves patched up.
Take a look at
Come
this
back
now.
चाहिए.
Puncher King,
Nice.
unfortunately,
Finish,
getting a
finish,
little bit of
finish,
damage,
finish.
but a
दो zone आ रहा
nice
है वैसे, तो
turnaround
बंदा
and
revive
an
नहीं होना चाहिए. दो
unexpected
3
third
knock
party
है.
now
TW
coming
वाले को
through.
बंदा knock.
Twisted Minds, they've taken a bit of a break from their
नहीं
battle
नहीं
against
नहीं
the
नहीं, ये
World of
बंदा knock
Battle.
हो सकता था.
Wait and
बच
see
गया अपना.
how that's
Twisted
going to
Mind
turn
नहीं
out for
मरना
them.
चाहिए.
They
Twisted Mind
can't
वालों के kill
ignore
भी
them
निकलने
for
चाहिए
too
अभी.
much longer, otherwise they will be putting themselves in a sandwich.
ओ फड़े आ गया.
Now we take a look at the
TW वाले
Xenon
उन्होंने
feeling
पकड़
the
लिया.
pressure as well. Relegated to only one member still standing.
मोली
I don't
लगी,
see
नहीं
Marshall,
लगी,
so
बच
that
गया.
is going to be a bit
नहीं
of a
नहीं
tough
नहीं, kill
battle
नहीं
now for
निकालना
them to
चाहिए.
turn this one
Nice.
around.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
damage now being dealt. The World of Battle finally making that
1v2
push into
करेगा
Twisted
Crypto.
Minds. And,
Oh,
the
पीछे से
shotguns
बढ़िया
are
TW
just
वाला.
too good.
Oh, absolutely loving it. I mean, Twisted Minds not going to be too happy about it. Ooh, but a
Twisted Mind
cheeky
के kill
nade
मिल सकते kill चोरी
as
ना हो.
Quest
क्योंकि
looks
वो
to capitalize
निकालने
on
वाला
Alhaje, looking
था
to
पूरा.
rain down
दो
with a
kills
little
मिल
bit of
जाने थे
lead.
इसको.
The nade is out, the bounce is there, but it doesn't find the damage. The jump shots come through, and that is Alhaje getting dropped to their knees. Fortunately, the reinforcements coming through from the side of Quest. Fahidan easy, really needing to close this one up, and just on the edge. Beautiful strafing from Muhammad. Absolutely dealing devastation into the side of Quest. What a turnaround. But now Fahidan just needs one shot to end it for Muhammad. Will they be able to secure the play? Up comes the push. Oh, it's right there. Oh. Fahidan saves the day, but Muhammad absolutely clutching it out.
No, man, this is ridiculous. Quest back to back, just bringing in those eliminations. But unfortunately, with that rotation, with all of that damage dealt back and forth, they will be seeing themselves back into the lobby. Not without like much pressure though, because they picked up those 10 eliminations, so they will be quite happy with that. Now, like we said, the brute force that they have brought in terms of that rotation now, holding into this coastal line, managing the expectation here between Vision and, of course, the likes of Falcon White. Brute force, an opportunity here for them, but they need to maintain these numbers. They're up against a two-team member on the side, and of course the one member here from Vision towards that northern side. So they have that opportunity, but now they need to get these eliminations as soon as possible before they get pincered.
Well, I'm not gonna lie, I am low-key rooting for one particular team. I'm not gonna name the name, but it's that one that we're looking at right here, more or less. And well, things are looking pretty up and up and up. As well, there's one player standing between that particular team and a winner chicken dinner. Falcons are doing a phenomenal job. 6 eliminations and getting back up in third place. That does award them quite a few placement points as well. But now comes the absolute barrage as the Brewery Fruities get ready for the final showdown. I mean, Volt could still clutch this one out. One well-placed nade could play quite a bit of an upset against the side of Brute Force, but that is not going to happen. As they step up, they reign supreme, and they make Sanok theirs as they claim themselves the lovely winner chicken dinner, and doing so with you know, a handful of eliminations to just you know, strengthen that up as well.
Man, oh man, what a wild Sanok. I mean, when you take a look at it, the teams that we saw in those final positions, in the better positioning, with those rotations, I mean, we were talking about the likes of Xenon, we were talking about the likes of Brute Force also making that rotation in. And also Quest Esports finishing off with 10 eliminations, but not garnering the placement points that you would deem necessary to those eliminations. Unfortunately, once again, the zone is just playing fate.
Yeah, as we know by now, the zone is no one's friend, right? It doesn't care who you are. It is gonna do what it does, and of course, the Brute Force squad also doing what they do as they secure themselves a lovely 15 pointers up. But as you pointed out, there is Quest, absolutely phenomenal gameplay, double-digit elims, and even though they didn't make it up into the top 3, they do walk away with 2nd place for this match.
Ooh, you really would want to see them having more just because of all the hard work that they put in, but nevertheless, points are points, and this is definitely going to be helping the tally. Two teams that we weren't expecting to say goodbye to so soon on Enigma Galaxy and Road to Glory. Yeah, it didn't quite translate the way that we were thinking, but I do still see that we should be seeing a change up when we go back to those Erangel and Miramar matches, because we should be seeing the team starting to settle into their boots. Like you said, we'll cross that halfway point. We've got 2 more matches for today. That's day 1 then done and dusted. The teams then have that information, hopefully, to change things up. But speaking of changing things up, that match report on Sanhok, my goodness gracious, I am not shocked in the slightest to see Alhaje sitting there with most eliminations and highest damage.
Alhaje being our Sanhok pro tier, so big congratulations going into Alhaje. I mean, a very impressive amount of damage, 1,070. No surprise, as you said, right? This is Sanhok, a map that really lends itself to a lot of aggression, and Alhaje just capitalizing on as much of that as they could. I mean, this is a very impressive performance, because that is 70% of the elimination tally coming through for their squad. So great job, well freaking done But of course, then we
चार के
also
निकाल
can
सकते
see
थे।
such a strong contribution coming in, right? The teams really
Yeah,
having
TW वाले
to
उधर।
work so much harder
पीछे से आगे
in
बंदा
this
ने
match
crypto को
up
मारता
in
है, crypto ले
Sanok
जाता है।
because, you know, there's just so much opportunity for punishments to come through, right? If you make a mistake on the map of Sanok, you might not always necessarily live to regret it.
Yeah, look, that Sanhok was no expectation. I mean, when we saw that zone actually making that rotation into the northern side, again, I don't know what it is with the zone guards and their love for water today, but it definitely proved a very difficult rotation for the teams. And we're taking a look at those wonderful highlights. I mean, we have no shortage of action on this match of Sanhok. It was just battle after battle after battle. And so many, once again, amazing clutches and amazing opportunities for teams like GK Esports as an example, or even Falcons White, who have been a bit more quiet and have had a bit of a tougher start to those first two matches, finally having that opportunity, as we expected, to get a few more points.
Yeah, but that is definitely what we are going to be looking at, right? Teams just utilizing the available opportunity to secure as much as they possibly can. And again, right, DBSs and the shotties doing their thing. No surprise, really. But of course, also love the ARs. Also just getting utilized across the board. I mean, these teams so dang capable. But I think the big play definitely was made by the side of Brute Force, just finding momentum. Even though things were a little bit more quiet up on towards that northeastern side, they were fighting their own battles, of course, going toe-to-toe with the side here of Vision, trying to at least find themselves in some kind of a footing. The big upsets definitely being played up in towards this container yard with Alhaji. Absolute carnage, absolute, just such a menace onto the side here of the battle.
Yeah, look, the sound of that DBS coming for you should give you enough warning on this map specifically that you want to turn around and run, because that's not a battle that you want to really be taking. But man, what a fantastic Sanhok, and I'm very elated. I love Sanhok, so I'm very happy with things. DK, I think we need to just take a little bit of a break and actually get over this happiness before we go back to the dusty dudes of Roma.
Comeback शुरू होगा. Comeback चाहिए. We will be back. PMGC के भी ग्रुप वो हो गए ना, डिसाइड हो गए कौन कौन से ग्रुप में वो भी हो गया इंशाल्लाह। पाकिस्तान की दौड़ में PMGC खेलेंगे तो इंशाल्लाह फाइनल राउंड तक तो जाएंगे इंशाल्लाह। फाइनल राउंड तक तो जाएंगे, टॉप 16 में तो जाएंगे। ये अपने ग्रुप में टॉप 3 में रखे हैं, सीधा ग्रैंड फाइनल में जाएंगे, सीधा ग्रैंड फाइनल। वाले सर्वाइव करते हैं तो 7 एलिमिनेशन वाले भी कर लेते हैं, वो बड़ा सर्वाइव करते हैं, सर्वाइव उनको करना आता है।
Welcome back, guys, as we are getting ourselves ready to move into the final 2 matches here today. Of course, we've got a Wrangle and Murmur that are yet to come, not exactly in that order, I think, right? But either which way, we of course have quite a bit of a lot to look at. Now, Ez, I know there's something in particular that you want to take a look at.
Yes, I mean we mentioned it briefly, but just the contrast in play styles that we've been seeing between obviously a winner chicken dinner winners, that being Brute Force and Quest Esports. I mean the team that got the highest eliminations. You can see the difference in that tactical play versus that aggression, of course, being in the side of Quest Esports. 10 eliminations with that 1.6k damage, but it doesn't result in the placements that they were looking for. I think they only got about 3 placement points ultimately at the end of it. And that's due to the sheer amount of action, the back-to-back fighting they had to take just to stay in the map on its own. So, as we take a look at it, moving into Erangel, moving into Miramar, what this means for our teams is, again, I like that we're still seeing that change in these teams. I mean, like we saw with Vision Esports, having a more aggressive approach on Sandlock, I mean, it's not, it's not shocking to see that happen, but it could mean a potential more aggression in towards maps like Erangel and Miramar, which could see teams either like Brute Force or the likes of Quest Esports rising to the top with those newfound points.
I mean, that could definitely be a potential play for these teams to have, but I'm also quite curious to see what the approach is going to be moving back into our final Erangel of the day, because as we've seen, we've had Virtual Gaming Squad step up with a bit of a winner chicken dinner. We've had Rook Esports, of course, securing themselves the very first one of the day. But I think at the end of the day, it boils down to who's able to maintain that consistency, right? Who will be able to pick it up and just push to that next extra little bit? Because, I mean, Virtual Gaming Squad, essentially, they've been able to find themselves 33 points just on this match alone. Map alone, rather.
I get what you mean. Don't worry, I got you. Absolutely. Look, it's the difference in playstyle that we've seen, and again, a lot of it has to do with those rotations and those positional plays. I mean, we just saw the absolute dash for madness to that military base island towards the end of it, and with that third Erangel now finally turning its head, it means the teams, they have a little bit more information. Like you said, first couple of matches done and dusted. Those nerves are out of the window. Now it's serious time. It is playtime. It is time for these teams to bring their playstyle and play their own games, not play to the games of their opponents, not play into their strengths, but to bring forth a focus on what they are capable of doing at this moment in time before we go back to those vulnerabilities, before we just start to change things up. It is time to play to your strengths, and for Erangel specifically, I mean, the focus is obviously going to be on our current leaders, right? We're talking about our Brute Force, we're talking about that Quest Esport, that Vision, that Virtual Gaming, but also on some of the teams that haven't had as nearly of a successful run on Erangel today, what we would expect them. Like Rook Esports, they had a great first match, second match not so great. GK Esports also, Enigma Galaxy, I mean, we could go on and on just listing names that we expect to do so much better at this point in time, but now it might be that turning point.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely could be that turning point, and one team in particular that I'm going to be hoping to hit that turning point is going to be the players coming through from Twisted Minds, because you know, they weren't having all that much luck coming through the PMPL with regards to Erangel. I mean, we know that they did at least secure themselves, you know, when with chicken dinner on this map. But I want to see how they're going to be looking to change that up coming through the championship, because this is the place where you show how you've been able to adapt to everything that you've learned through your spring and your full PMPL splits, right? How all of that information, all that, you know, all the struggles, how all of that has actually culminated and what you can then do moving forward from that point. So I definitely want to see Twisted Minds really starting to pop off. Staying true to their name, and of course, you know, we've got Crypto and Evo Station in the squad, so they've got the players. They have exactly what they need to have one phenomenal match, and I'm hoping to see it potentially even start in this match.
I want to have an answer to what Sly Machine and of course the likes of Protocol have been cooking. They've been semi-consistent in terms of their placements and in terms of the points that they've specifically been able to get on this map. Some of our top 4 teams that actually have just had a great performance so far today. Sly in particular, their rotations are very interesting to me. Again, I don't know how they manage to just peek up, get an elimination, and then they jump into the shadows. They go and they disappear. No one can find them until much later when, guess what, they're peeking and taking an elimination from you again. And they do that so well that we get to that end point and they've got 7 odd eliminations, and now they just need to worry about a placement. It's it's really interesting, and I want they can continue that, especially moving into this last wrangle when the teams are a little bit more used to each other and they are aware of who the bad guys are going to be and who the focus needs to be.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see just how exactly all of this is going to play out. But I mean, well, a great opportunity to really come up with interesting ways to approach these games, because I mean, there's so much opportunity, and we are still in the early stage of this championship. And once we end today, I do expect the teams to come through with a lot more focus and determination moving through here, you know, banking on the lessons they've learned off of the first day and seeing whether or not some of their strategies works, trying to get a good feel as to how they should be playing this. Of course, they know what works for them, but I want to see all of that then being utilized. I want to see these teams just absolutely flourishing and playing the best insane possible PUBG that they can play up to this point. Because as we know, PMGC is up for grabs. There's 4 slots available, and these teams, I can't wait to see how they're going to be performing once they step onto the battlefield with, you know, squads from other regions.
Yeah, I mean, then you go from trying to adapt to teams where you should be slightly more, you know, familiar to a completely different ball game, a completely different opportunity, and those different play styles are going to provide a new set of challenges, but also a new set of opportunities to learn and grow and be better. And the team that is able to adapt the quickest is the team that is going to get those wins, is the team that is going to be the one at the top of the leaderboard. So that's where these MA championships are really going to be able to showcase who we should be looking out for. Who is the team, as an example, who's going to come through into this last wrangle of the day and have everyone's number and have everyone's strategy in a pocket and be like, cool, we know what you can do, we can be better, we can still beat you. So that's going to be the focus for me. This last wrangle is really going to set the tone as well for the rest of the week, because as we know, if you don't like a wrangle, you're going to be in for a treat this week.
Yes, especially seeing that we have 3 wrangles per day. So, you know, it's almost like broccoli. Either you like it or you have to kind of just force it down. Right? It's one of those two. There's no in between. So I'm hoping that the teams do take a bit of a liking to this. You know, especially the teams that need to find a little bit more of a steady flow when it comes to the map of your wrangle and their performances to go inside with that. Speaking of which, though, you got Quest and R8 getting ready for a little bit of a showdown as Al-Hajj comes through with a very quick play with that Bison. And now Ragnarok could be on the receiving end of a little bit of that hot and heat love, but unfortunately Al-Hajj getting a little bit too excited with sending the nade out. Oh, Kante, though, comes in with a great assist.
It was all a part of the plan. It was a simple distraction so that they wouldn't be looking at Kante sending in that beautiful nade, and it all made sense. So there we go, a nice little bit of an early present coming through. Unfortunately for the likes of R8, they're just going to have to give up on this one. There's no worth in going for this rotation at this point in time. Quest Esports already going in for the finish, and yeah, information and position are not quite on the cards for them just yet, but hey, we should be able to see them still pull a rabbit out of the hat. A bit of a later rotation, as we see, from all the way on Everest into that zone. What I'm interested in as well, other than this interesting position here between Nigma Galaxy and RTG, is also how Vision once again are going to be dealing with this outskirt position. Very late on the rotation, all the way from shooting range, and Jordan, so it's going to be something to keep in the back of our minds.
Yeah, that is definitely going to be quite a bit of a thing to keep a very, very close eye on as well. But still, quite a few teams yet to rotate up. Spin on some Blue Juice. As we know, Blue Juice, it's weird. It leaves a little bit of a tingling sensation on your tongue. So you can't have too much of it. And of course, it's not too good for your health. So you definitely want to get yourself out of that, back into the zone, so you stand a bit of a fighting chance. And speaking about fighting chances, Xenon definitely going to be looking to make a little bit of noise as they come creeping closer towards that shelter position.
Twisted Mind इस टाइम ब्रिज कैंप करके बैठा हुआ शायद.
हाँ, Twisted Mind की तरफ से वो also massive pressure on them to maintain this lead and to keep themselves in the running with these crazy plays. Brute Force, the Broody Foodies, all the way from that northern side, once again, also very low and slow rotation. Rook Esports and Brute Force have been the two teams that have been the most consistent in that specific strategy across all maps. Every single map, they head towards the north if they can, and then they just take a late outskirt rotation. And especially for the likes of Brute Force in towards that Sandhawk, it was definitely working for them. For Rook Esports, it's been a bit of a catch-22. We saw that fantastic play on that first wrangle. Again, individual prowess shining ultimately there. Here, I want to see them as that tight-knit group, really bringing in the pain to the rest of the teams.
Yeah, I definitely want to see, you know, teams like you mentioned now, can't say with the pen, you know, like Rook and the Breedy Fruities really find good way of utilizing those rotations. Regardless of what map it's on, right? It worked out for Brute Force when they came through on the map of Sandhawk. Things might not necessarily go exactly the same way when it comes to the wrangle. As we know, each map has its own kind of play style that you need to try and adapt to have the most possible success coming into it. But of course, still, a lot of these teams that are yet to rotate forward, they could maybe bring quite a bit of an upset to those strategies. But a great opportunity here for Twisted Minds to just look to capitalize on a little bit of that breach camping, because they need points, right? And the more eliminations and the more points they can find, obviously the better it is going to be for them. So let's hope that Twisted Minds can get a bit of a jump here, because Virtual Gaming Squad, they are one of our defending squads when it comes to the map of Urangle.
Absolutely. So it has to be here. It has to be now. Well, preferably now. We can wait till tomorrow, but I want action right now, please. This is going to be an interesting one now for teams as well. Like we said, it's getting to that point where we start to see those gaps forming. We obviously have the likes of Brute Force and Vision right up ahead of them at leading the pack, but it's been very close and contentious, I would say, for the top 8. As soon as we get into that second page, we obviously have a much more significant drop. But it's been because of these top heavy engagements. So the teams that are at the top are the teams that are just jumping up those leaderboards. And this one is going to be interesting. Ooh, Brute Force and Rook Esports. Two teams currently sitting in first place and 5th place respectively on the overall leaderboard. So if they were here to take that engagement, it definitely would potentially spell a disaster for that leaderboard.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously going to be a little bit more important to the side of Rook Esports. They're only 10 points away, so whatever they can find here is going to be absolute magic. But it might be a little bit upsetting for the side of the Breedy Fruities if that is the case. But they also got to watch out for Visions. We can see them coming through with a little bit of a cheeky rotation off the back end there. Meanwhile, the Zone is going to be taking us up north. So Twisted and Virtual Gaming Squad, they definitely going to have to find a way, not only off of the bridge, but also through the teams that are waiting just towards the north. So it's going to be a very tough rotation, because we got Nigma, we got Sly, Clear Vision, so many teams that are going to be looking to just bring in a few cheeky trades. Yeah, best of luck to Virtual as they now do start with a bit of an approach here coming through onto the side of Twisted, but it does seem like Datino is going to be primed and ready to roll as we got that nade. Oh, but unfortunately, Amjid just lays into the side of them.
Oh, I can hear those sounds. I can hear the pain rolling on in. Virtual Gaming, interesting position that they're going to be holding as well, considering that Zone is on its way. So I don't think they want to really be dealing with Twisted Minds all the much longer. We can see Falcons already making that call as well, taking that rotation in. It is time to get into safety. So Virtual Gaming have to do something similar, going to be taking a bit of a wider approach along that coastal line, trying to get themselves enough cover to just avoid the damage that Twisted Mind is going to be dealing out, because they have a little bit more of that high ground to work with. But it is not going to be without its own battles. You can see right up ahead of them, if Virtual Gaming continue this pathing, they go straight into the back of Sly.
Yeah, that's definitely not the kind of approach that you want to get, because we've seen what Sly is capable of, so that could present quite a bit of a threat to them. But, you know, big ups to the side they have Twisted, getting themselves mobilized, prepping for a bit of a push, looking to get themselves repositioned. But I'm curious to see who's going to be looking to play for the northern edge of Zone. I mean, the teams don't necessarily know, well, we know with regards to the open areas, but it's all down to those preemptive plays and how the teams are going to be looking to get themselves situated. Twisted, this could maybe develop into a little bit of a costly play if they're not
Twisted
more
के पीछे
cautious,
गाड़ियां आ
because
रही
we
हैं,
got
वाह।
Nigma lying in wait, we got RTG as well as the side of Quest a little
बहुत
bit
बंदे
further
हो,
up. So a lot of
सारे
contention
scores
coming through. And speaking about contention, it's going to be NASA and Clear Vision now
16
finding
teams
themselves in a
अभी
bit
तक
of a
पड़ी हैं।
head-to-head, a little bit of a showdown to see
तीसरा
who's
भी
going to be
चौथा
locked in
सबसे
onto the
बड़ा।
compound. And so far, NASA fighting off
Nasser
quite a
वाले
bit of
गए।
a hard pull. As you can see, the
इधर
heads
एक
just
team
raining
एक
on
team
down.
के इधर खत्म होगा।
And I'm not quite sure if NASA are going to make it out of this one in one piece. Well, there we have our answer. The answer is no, as they are instead our
Enigma
first
कहते
team
चढ़ गए हैं।
getting sent back into the
Twisted।
lobby.
Oh, the
Enigma
pain, the
doesn't know,
pain that it is going to be dealt. Clear Vision once again. Interesting position now to be holding on. Nassar feeling the damage,
Maybe
feeling the brunt of the
it's
action, while Virtual Gaming just continue to rain on the hits. Coop's now going to be taken out, and that will mean that Nigma Galaxy are in a bit of an interesting position here. Currently finding themselves, of course, sandwiched not only between Virtual Gaming, but of course the likes of Xenon, and right up ahead of them it is RTG. So decisions will need to be made sooner rather than later how they are going to handle this one. I wouldn't say they want to stick around much longer before those rotations move on in. So as we take a look at that, Zone is going to relocate. We've got GK Esports and the World of Battle with a prime position into this next phase. And here towards that northern side, look again. Lo and behold, it is the outsiders of Slime Machine moving on in for a few potential eliminations.
Well, there could be a few cheeky trades to be found there, but it is still going to be quite a tough angle to hold. And I mean, we did see that zone shift now coming through, taking us down on towards that more southern positioning. And I mean, GK, at least for the time being, a decent spot to have, but they're going to have to watch that hill where we see Prestige from RTG also now just merged on. And of course, the World of Battle just across the way. These are two formidable angles to be holding, especially within a zone like this. And just a little bit further down south, we got Xenon and Virtual Gaming Squad also contesting for a little bit of that hard cover. But GK really going to be looking to capitalize on every available opportunity, as they do have the reach, the lineup, and the angles to apply all the pressure they can muster.
Love to see this raining in the action here. And quite a bit of damage now that we will be seeing